Boker or Shavua Tov Masechet Kiddushin Daf Amud Aleph. We're on the two dots, which is on the first line. We are talking about now that a ger which is an charure. Charure, remember, is somebody that's an eved meshuchrar, that he was liberated. So they went up with Ezra. Menalan, how do we know that these people also with gerim and also these meshuchrarim went up with Ezra Sofer from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael during the time of the second Bet HaMikdash? Amar Rav Chasta says, Rav Chasta. It says in the pasuk, "V'yechulu bnei Yisrael hashavim מהגולה את קורבן הפסח ולאכול הנבדל מטומאת גויי הארץ עליהם," which means the gerim v'avadim meshuchrarim that were separated from tumat or v'da kochavim nidbeku b'Yisrael. They came and they went up, which means that it's a pasuk mifurash. V'chol hanivdal mitumot goyei haaretz alehem, mitumat goyei haaretz alehem. They went with them. So that means obviously we're referring to gerim and meshuchrarim. Mamzerim, mamzere. How do we know that mamzerim went up with Ezra Sofer? Menalan. תכתיב וזזר בסוף וישמע סנבלת החורני וטוביה העבד האמוני. So it was heard, and now Tuvia was an Eved. It says Tuvia העבד האמוני. וכתיב ונצויתן כי רבים ביהודה בעלי שבועה לו. There were a lot of people, right? They made a שבועה to him, to Tuvia העבד, כי חתן הוא לשחניה בן ערך, because he was a חתן of Shechania ben Arach, that he was a Jew. Okay? And then it says here, V'yochanan beno, and Yochanan his son, לקח את בת מושלם במרחיה, to take בת מושלם במרחיה. So it comes out that Tuvia ha'eved and Yochanan the son got married to nashim Yisraeliyot. Now Kasavar, he holds that remember that if you have a goy that goes with a Jew, or if you have a eved, right, a slave that goes with a Jew, the vlad is a mamzer. Right, that was the shita. Again, we don't paskin like that, but that was this shita, and therefore these coming and saying that's why. How do you know that the mamzerim came up from Bavel to Israel? So says the Gemara, Hani Chalamad. That's good according to the Amar that says of la mamzer, but according to the Amar, the vlad is not a mamzer. Michael, what are you going to say? The two, and furthermore, how do you know that he had children? Meaning, for somebody to make them into a mamzer, tzarich liot yeladim. Sometimes they could come and they could permit the marriage, but they just didn't have children. And sometimes it happens, right? It could happen. There's okay, that's the question. So he says like this, the two, and furthermore, how do we know the be'emet that they had children and they went up? Maybe like this. First of all, a few questions. First of all, according to the Mandamar, that if an Eved or a Goy, right, goes on about Yisrael, a blood is kasher. Because at the end of the day, it's a Jewish mother. Second of all, whoever said that they had children. Third of all, even if they did have children, whoever said that they came up. Maybe they stayed in Bavel because they didn't want to come up and have all the balagan. Ella barad, there's another pasuk. The pasuk says, Vele ha'olim mitel melach, tel chersha, kiruv adom v'imer, velo yachlu lagib et avotam v'zar'am im Yisraelhem. These people, they weren't able to say who's their fathers. Right? Mien and Mutem, or the mothers. Why? Because they didn't know who they were from. So tel melach, bnei adam shedumim ma'asem le'maaseh Sedom, shenefchal letel melach. It's basically their actions were right like Sedom, that they were megalei arayot. They were all. So therefore, it comes out that there was a whole bunch of mamzerim. They didn't even know who was the father, who was the this, who was the that. Why? Because basically they did actions of Sedom. Tel chirsha ze shekore abba v'imo shetko shtuki. Right? What do you mean? He said, "Papa, hey, quiet down. Shh, don't. No, you don't know if it's Papa." Right? V'lo yachlu lagib et avotam v'zar'am im Yisraelhem. It's a Sufi. That means they didn't even know who the father or the mother was. That's an Asufi, that it was gathered from the shuk. Keruv adon v'imer. Amar Rabbi Yavu amar adon amarti yu Yisrael lefanei chashuvim kekruv. They're going to be like a kruv, right? Which is like chayot hakodesh, right? The kruvim, right? Vehem samu atzmam kenamer, and they made themselves like a chaya, right? Which does not stop itself from liznot im zuga shel chaverta. Meaning this namer, which is how do you say namer in English? A leopard, no? It's yeah. No, doesn't say what namer is. No, namer. Yeah. So this namer doesn't stop, right, from other people coming, right, and having relations with it. Leopard. Yeah. Leopard. Okay. So he says over here that means the leopard has relations with other persons, like, with the other animals' wives, right? He doesn't care. So it says, some people say, Amar Yevu says Yevu. Amar Adon says, even though they made themselves like a leopard, but they're like the kruvim, right? What does that mean? I still love them. They're like loved in front of me, like the malachim. Anybody that gets married to a woman that's not proper for him, he comes and he made the entire world deaf. Meaning it happens. People come, they get married to people that they're not fitting for them. Right? They come, remember, the Jews, they have a very big, very good genealogy. They have a good genealogy and they're very, very, they come from very big yichus. And then if they come and they get married to somebody that's not fitting for them, they've destroyed that. So they made deaf the entire world and their children are like salt. Right? Imagine like that. You don't know how many people come, mamash. I come and I see them and they destroy all their genealogy. They come from like yichus, like, like, wow, top of the line. And then what happens? Boom, they destroy everything, right? And that's it. They're all generations, future generations, Kaddish. Why? Because they came and they put their foot in it. Yeah? So, Amar Rabba Barav Ada, Amar Rav, says Rabbi Barav Ada in the name of Rav, if somebody gets married to a woman because of Mammon, he's going to have children which are not proper. Meaning some people, they come and they get married for money. They're not going to have good children. Shneimar ba'Hashem bagadu ki banim zarim yaladu. They went and they rebelled against Hashem because they had children which are psulim. The Shema Tamad. One second. The Shema Tamad, maybe you're going to say Mamon Palat. Maybe you're going to say the money was the one that's going to come and they're going to basically, that they got married to these women to become rich. Which means that chilek of the money, right? They went and they got married to the woman. Maybe they're going to say chilko, his own chilek. Velo chilka, not hers. Maybe it's a lot of time. How do we know that? Why? Because you have to remember, many times people will come, they get married for money, and then what happens is that they lose the money within a month. Meaning people, you think money always stays. People come, they get married, and if they only got married for money, afterwards the money goes. Yeah? And then that's it. Right? It's true, but sometimes it happens the other way around as well, which means that she'll get married. I actually had a story with this, but this is not Gibraltar. This is actually in Toronto. I remember there was a woman that she was a Beis Yaakov girl, 18-year-old. She went and she got married to somebody, I think he was like 27 or 28. Now, right, with Ashkenazim, it's not that common. Some Moroccans, things like that, it was common that the man was like 10 years older, 8 years older, 15 years old even many times. It happened, and again, many years ago, not today, but it happened. And what happened was that basically she got married to him because he was a rabbi, right? And he had the money, right? And she got married to him. After a little while, what happened was, I remember because I was best friends with the son. What happened was, all of a sudden he got sick. And once he got sick, right, he had the machala, and it was one after another. And now remember, once a person is sick, besides all the expenses of the thing, he can't really work, and then there's expenses, and then there's this, and then she divorced him. She got rid of him. And then what happened was that Keilu, the son, he blamed the father. So the son, he only had one boy and one girl. So the son blamed the father. So the son stopped speaking to the father. And it killed the father. Mamash, it killed him. Like I remember speaking to the father, tears in his eyes that he wants to speak to his son. Well, what are they putting the blame? And what happened was that afterwards, basically, the son never spoke to the father. So when the father actually passed away, I think it was a few years afterwards, right? He left all his inheritance to his nephew. Everything went to the nephew, nothing to the son. You understand? But so. Says Rabbi, and some people say it's going to be Rabbi Salam or Rabbi Menuna. If somebody gets married to a woman that is not fitting for her, right? Which means that she's not fitting for him. What happens? Eliyahu Navi will tie him up, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give him lashes. Powerful words. Like mamash, we're talking about when a person comes and we're talking about shidduchim, they have to pay attention. The Tana we learned al kulam in all these cases. Eliyahu kotev, Eliyahu is going to be writing it, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be chotem. Oy lo lifosel et zaro. Woe to somebody that he disqualifies his children. Ul pogem mishpachto, he puts a defect in his family. Ul nosei isha sheno genet lo, and he gets married to somebody that's not fitting for him. Eliyahu kofto, Eliyahu is going to tie him up. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give him lashes. V'chol posel pasul eno medaber b'shivcha leolam. Somebody that's going to come, and he's going to come and all speak about these things, about these bad families. So they themselves are pasul, and therefore you cannot come and speak about the shevach of other people. And meaning, if somebody's always looking at the negative in other people, It means that what? It means that really be'emet, it means that there's going to be a defect, right? That's what we're saying. It's going to be like a complete defect. And that's why it's so important just to understand. Okay, fine. So now he comes and it says like this. He comes and he says like this. He says, Ahu Gabra, there was a person. From the Ardad. He went up to the Bet HaMitbachayim and Pumbadita. Amar lehu, and he told the Mochrim, how will we give me meat? Amrullah, they said, wait until we give to the Shamash of Rav Yehuda bar Yecheskel. Right, and then we're going to give you. Amar, he says, who's Yehuda bar Shviskel? Meaning Shviskel was a person that he was like a gargaran. He was a glutton, a gluton. Yeah? The kadim lead, that's going to go in front of me. The shakim that he's going to take in front of me. So they went and they told Rabbi Yehuda bar Yecheskel. That means instead of calling Rabbi Yehuda bar Yecheskel, he says, who's Rabbi Yehuda bar Shviskel? Like he made fun of the guy. Like, who's this guy, Bichlal? That he's getting meat in front of me. So they told Rabbi Yehuda, Shamte, he put him in Cherem. Amru, they said, Ragil de Karigin Shavdeh, right? He usually calls people of Adim. So Achri Zaleh de Avdahu. He went and he said he's an Eved. Azalahu vazmene ledina lekameder Nachman. So he brought him in front of a bedin, in front of Rav Nachman. So he took him to bedin. I to Pit kedazmana. They brought a petek of azmana to him. Azar Rav Yehuda lekameder Ravuna. So he came in front of Ravuna. Amale, he says, Ezil, should I go or not? Amale meizel lo mibay lecha lemeizel. Yeah, you're not chayav to go, mishum de gavra rabat, because you're a very great person. Ela mishum yikara de b'nesiya, but because of the yikarav, the bet anasi, kumzil, go. So ata he came, ashkechad de kavi ma'akeh, and he found that he was building a ma'akeh. So he found, right, that he was building a Elmaleh. He told him, says, I don't understand you. Once you become Nitmanal Tzibur, once you are a person that is in charge of the congregation, you're not allowed to do melacha in front of 3 people. That means that's it. You're high up there. You cannot start doing melacha because it's a bizayon. Amarle, he says, Purta de gurdrita u de kavina. I'm only making a small maakeh. Amarle, he says, misanya, right? Maakeh. He says what? It's not good, the word maakeh, dichtibo raita, or mechitza, de amur rabbanan. He says what? You don't want the maakeh, which is written in the Torah, mechitza, which is said in the Rabbanan. Amalei, he says, Yeti mora parkita, sit down on the safsal. Amalei, he told him, Umi sani, is it not good safsal, the amur rabbanan? Or itztiba, that means your itztiba, the people usually call it. Amalei, leichul mor etrunga. Come and eat an etrog. Amalei hachya mashmul, kola omer etrunga, tilta birmut rucha. He's a shlish b'gasuta ruach, or etrog, ki kedekayu rabbanan, or etroga, the amni inche. Amalei, so he told him, Lishtemar, right? Come drink and baga, right? Drink this certain type of a drink. Amalei, misani ispargus tekayu rabananu ampat tekayu inche. Amalei, teti dunag, bring, right? My daughter that's called dunag, tashkina, and she's going to give you to drink. Amalei, he told him, this is what Shmuel says, emish tamshim b'isha, right? We're not allowed to use a girl. So he says, Ktana, what? She's a little girl. Right, which means don't get a girl to start serving you. Meaning some people, they don't get a girl to start serving you. So nishta lemor shlama lialta, right? You want to give shalom lialta, my wife? Right? He says, fine, if shalal shliach. Amalei, he told him, this is what Shmuel says. En shoalim b'shlom isha, you're not allowed to aina mubet, 70b. You're not allowed to come and ask shalom to a woman, even through her husband. Right? You're not allowed to. What does that mean? Why? Because then what happens is that she's thinking, this guy's thinking about me. Meaning, if I come and I tell you, send regards to your wife, you go to your wife, you say, this guy just said hello to you. So she's thinking, he's always thinking about me. So therefore, you're not allowed to do that. Right? So he says, Shalchaled vitu. So the wife of Nachman sent to Rav Nachman, Shalele tigre. Right? Ptora dino. Right? Just do whatever he wants. Right? Just already make him patur, so he's not going to make you look like an amaretz. Meaning the guy's wife, the rabbi's wife, this is Rav Nachman, he went and he told, right, her husband, listen, just make him patur, because if not, he's going to make you an amaretz in front of everybody over here. So Elmaleh, right, he told Rav Nachman, What does you do here? Why did the rabbi come here? Elmaleh, he says, Taska dazmanata shadar. He says, what? You send me an azmana. Elmaleh, he says, Hashtash hu shuta demor lo gomina, right? The ber tzachur shno sharav and yodea. Taska dazmanata more. He says, what? I'm going to send you azmana. Apik diska dazmanata mechade. He went, he took it out. Vachud, he showed it to him. Elmaleh, he said, Ha gavra v'hadiska. This is the person, this is azmana. Elmaleh, he told him, since you already came, let's speak. If already, let's speak. Somebody, you're not going to say that the rabbis, that they come and they, like they have protection between them. And it's not meaning that if you're already here, let's speak. Elmaleh, he told him, why did you put him in cherem? He says, he was mitzayer shliach of the rabbanan, meaning I sent my shliach to buy meat, and he was mitzayer my shliach. If you're mitzayer the shliach of the rabbi, you get cherem. We're not talking about the rabbi. He was mitzayer the shliach of the rabbi, the messenger of the rabbi. He already gets cherem. So he says, okay, fine. V'nagdemor, right? So he says, why didn't you give him lashes? So he says, I did even better than him. Right? Why? My tama, he says, why? Which is basically nidui. Nidui is even better. The Gemara says that nidui is more chamur mimalkut. And the reason why Rav Yehuda was more machamur was because he was chatzuf biyoter. Because he was not only mitzayer the shliach, he's mitzayer him as well, because he made fun of his name. So he went to his mitzayer not only the shliach, but also him. So he says, my tamachri is more ole davdo. Okay, fine. So why did you call him an eved? Elmaleh, he told him, the ragil the karein sheavdi. He always used to call people avadim. Tani kol posel b'mumu posel. That's what he says. Kol posel b'pasul. Right? Ve'eno medaber shvichal olam. Shmuel mo posel. Ikalame da'amar Shmuel lemei chashlei. So says Rav Nachman, fine, but maybe Shmuel is only saying, suspect it. Whoever said you could mention it. Meaning like this, if you see a guy, right, and by the way, this happens a lot of times. I remember there was somebody, right, this was like a kid, that he kept on saying, this guy's a hunchback, or this guy's this, or this guy's that. If you see a person that all he does is say psul about other people, it means they themselves are pasul. It means they themselves are pasul. There's something wrong, right? And therefore, it's very, very problematic, right? So he comes and he says, okay, fine, but maybe, yes, 100%. Yeah, 100%. If you're always saying it, that means that you have it yourself. So he comes and he says, right? He comes and he says, 1 second, but maybe you only are going to suspect it, but you're not going to mention it. So therefore, what happens is, Amaleu Bardina, the Baldin came and he told Ruda, you called me an Avid. I come from the Chashmonaim that they were kings. Elmaleh, he told them, anybody that comes and he says that he comes from the Chashmonaim, he's an Eved. So anybody that comes from the Chashmonaim is an Eved. Right? Elmaleh, he told them, says, 1 second. If you would have told us that beforehand, we would have believed you. But now that you say that afterwards, how do we know that we can believe you? Which means like this. If you're going to come to me and I'm going to tell you halakha, and then the halakha comes the maaseh, so then you're going to believe me. Why? Because I told you the halakha before the story happened. But if only after the story comes, now I come and I say, this is halakha, they're going to say, listen, Rabbi, maybe you're only saying it because now the story came and this is what's happening. But maybe beforehand you wouldn't have said it like that. So he comes and he says, Elmaleh, ha'ika Rav Matna the kalkoti. He says, go to Rav Matna. Right? Rav Matna lo chazir nedat leis shani. Rav Matna did not see Nardar for 13 years. How yo marata? That day he came to Nardar. Meaning, imagine, Rav Matna didn't come to the city for 13 years. Exactly on that day he came. Elmaleh dachil mor mayamar Shmuel. Do you remember what Shmuel says? Kikai chada kara aguda v'chada kara mabra. What he said when he had 1 foot in the river and 1 foot on the bridge. Elmaleh hachya Shmuel is what Shmuel says. Anybody that says that he comes from the Bet Chashmonai is an Eved. But there was only a girl that was left over from the Chashmonaim. That she went on top of the roof and she said, that she's an Eved. She went and she jumped off and she killed herself. She committed suicide. Remember, that was because the Chashmonaim took away the kingdom from the Yehuda, because they were Kohanim, and they went and they did that. They went and in front of everybody, they mentioned this guy's an Eved. And that day, they went and they started tearing up a whole bunch of ketubot in Arda, which means that it comes out that the women, right, the women from that family were safek psulot, so they had to get divorced, and the husbands, right, they couldn't pay the ketubot, right, because they only got married bechizkat kshirot, and it was a mekach taut. So basically, there was a whole bunch of ketubot that had to be torn up from that family. So imagine a whole family, boom, they're all avadim. It's powerful stuff. Hikanafik. So when Rabbi Yehuda was coming out of Narda, nafik abat le. So people came out, they wanted to stone him. Amarlehu, he told them, Ishtiku, shtiku. If you guys keep quiet, keep quiet. Vilo, and if not, megalina alaychu, hadamar Shmuel, I'm going to be megale on you, that what Shmuel says. Tarte zarayata ika benada. The two families in Narda, Chada Mikaria, one of them, the Beyona, one of them is called the family of Beyona. The Chada Mikaria, one of them is called the Be Orevti. The Simanech Tameh Tameh Tahor Tahor, which means the one that's called Orev, which is a raven, is an Of Tameh. We just had in this week's parasha. The Orev with Noach, he's a Shakran. And that's the Mishpacha Tmeah. But the Mishpacha, which is called Yonah, the Yonah in this week's parasha, look at this yesterday. Yesterday we just read this. The Yonah is an Of Tahor, and it always tells the truth. Right? Yonah is the Nimshala Lekneset Yisrael. Mishpacha Teorah. Shadiu lo midaihu. So they threw it, right? L'Nahar Malka. L'Ka'atma b'Nahar Malka. And then it stopped. That means they took all the stones and they threw it in Nahar Malka. So the question is, why did they actually stop it? The opposite. She revealed to them who's Bemet Pasul and who's kosher. What's going on there? Right? So therefore they actually come and they say, they didn't actually know who was the Mishpachot Orev and Mishpachot Yonah. And Rabbi Yehuda just told them that if you guys are going to start stoning, I'm going to start saying who are the families. Meaning, basically, he threatened them. He says, you guys want to stone me? No problem. You guys even start trying to throw a stone. I'm going to mention what Shmuel said. Who are all the families which are psulot and narda? And then imagine, you don't know how many other families are going to be all of a sudden become problematic. You understand? So because of that, it's going to become a problem. Fine. So he comes and he says, Machriz of Yehuda Pumbadita. Rav Yehuda came and he mentioned Pumbadita. Ada of Yonatan Avde. Ada and Yonatan are Avadim. Yehuda bar Papa is a mamzer. Bati Bartuvia is an Eved. Birmut Rucha lo Shakil Gita dechruta. He didn't take a shtar shichrur, so it comes out that he's an Eved because he never wanted to receive a get shichrur, an emancipation letter. Right? Machriz of Mechuz Rava came and he said Balai Danai Talai Malai is a guy. Kulam nifsul. All families which are pasul. Amar Rav Yehuda says Govai Givona Turienata Durai Netinae also psulim. Right? Sorry, the first one's Govai or Givonim. The Durai or Netinim. Amar Rav Yosef Hai Bekuve the Bipudita. This Kfar Katan Bipudita Kula that everyone's avadim. Amar Rav Yehuda Meshmuel Arba Meot Avadim. Amar Rav there are 400 of Avadim. Some say there are 4,000 Avadim. Halu Fashchur Binimar Bekulam Nitmeu Bekuna, and all of them they went and they started getting married to the Benot Kohanim. So they started getting married with them. Echol Kohen Sheish Bo Azut Panim. Are you guys listening? Any Kohen that he has Azut Panim, Eno Ela Mehem, comes from them. That means you have a Kohen, and he's an Eved. That's why he's got Azut Panim. Amar Abaye says, Kula Yatvan Beshura de Narda. All of them, right, are sitting in the Shura of Narda. Upliga de Belazar, Nargaz de Belazar, Damar Belazar. Yunaita Kohen Ba'azut Metzach. If a Kohen has Azut Metzach, Al Tarer Echarav Shnemar Ve'amicha Kimrive Kohen. Right? Why? Because they're like the Minive Kohen. So basically, it comes out it's actually a machloket. So machloket is it that automatically that they have like a zut metzach and they fight with people, right? That's why sometimes you have kohanim that they like to fight with people, right? Or is it that you're going to have they're really bemet because bemet they're avadim, and that's why they have a zut metzach because of that. So Amar Bi Avin. Parada Marav, anybody that's going to get married to somebody that's not fitting for him, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to put his Shekhinah on them, Me'id al kol shvatim. He's going to testify about everybody, and he's not going to testify about him. Shneimar, but it says the pasuk, Shiftei Yah hedu l'Yisrael. Emataya yevidu l'Yisrael. Zman shavatim Shiftei Yah. Mamash, it's so sad, all the destruction of this, because many times it's just like the Yetzirah for nothing, and then afterwards Kaddish. That's it. Was once they're stuck in it, that's it. We also had a story there in Gibraltar. I remember there was a story of a guy that he was married to a Goya, and he was the shamash of the Bet Knesset, right? He never got an aliyah, right? And he was married, he had children and everything, and he was years. I once said to somebody, I said, why doesn't even try to convert her. Nothing. Once he was stuck. That's it. He was kilu, that's it. He passed away, right? He actually passed away. But the second that they get stuck, that's it. It becomes very, very problematic. They need a lot of.
She don't want.
Yeah, no, but they need a lot of strength in order to know what's right. You understand? So Amar Rabbi Chanina says Rabbi Chanina, כשהקדוש ברוך הוא משרה שכינתו, והקדוש ברוך הוא משרה שכינתו לישראל, הם משרה אל המשפחות מיוחסות שבישראל. He's only going to put a shekhinah on the families of Israel which are מיוחסות. שנאמר בזה בפסוק בעת אני ומשם, אהיה לאלוקים לכל משפחות ישראל. לכל ישראל לא נאמר, אלא לכל משפחות ישראל. והם היו לי לעם, אמר רבי הונא, זו מעלה יתרה יש בין ישראל לגרים. That's going to be a מעלה יתרה between the ישראל and the גרים. דילו ביסקתו בישראל שפט ויתר לאלוהים, הם היו לי לעם. בגרים את שפט מיהו זה הרב, אל ליבו לגשת אולי לאומשם ויתר לנו לעם, אנוכי אליכם לאלוהים, which means that it's only going to be if they come on their own, which means Israel automatically, they're Israel. The Gerim, when they come, they have to become closer to Hashem, and then Hashem becomes close to them. So Amar Rabbi Elmaleh, that's what Rabbi Elmaleh says, Kashim Gerim liYisrael kesapahat. Gerim are to Israel like a sapachat. It's like tzarat, meaning Gerim are not good to Israel. Shnemar v'nilva ger elehem v'nispuchu bet Yaakov timcha v'nispuchu tibatam v'asev el sapachat. And therefore, a person has to understand why exactly. Some people say because we already know the entire reason, because they don't know, they don't have the Masechet, and therefore they start doing certain things, and then they think, no, this is the way it's supposed to be, and then it becomes a balagan. There's many different explanations on why is it kasher gerim kesapach Yisrael, but you see it also many times, right? That kilu, it's at the beginning, and then afterwards, you ask yourself, was it really genuine or not? Was it really a true conversion, right, or not? And therefore, a person has to be careful.